Hi, all. Rebecca Zung here, top 1% divorce attorney and the best-selling author of the books Negotiate Like You Matter and Breaking Free, a step-by-step divorce guide. And this is part 2 of my interview, my exclusive interview with Tracy Malone, the founder of the world-famous Narcissist Abuse Support Group. She has chapters all over the world. Thousands and thousands of people have joined, unfortunately, because the other global pandemic that's going on in the world is narcissism. And Tracy knows a lot about it. She's escaped relationships herself that were narcissistic and abusive, and she tells you how to do it right here in these videos. So this is part 2. Make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell, and we're going to go ahead and dive in right now. So talk about your role as an empath and how that actually made you more of a target for narcissists, because I think it's really important that people understand that.
Well, I think there's a lot of factors that make us targets, and being an empath is one, being someone that has no boundaries. So in my recovery, I had to learn my own accountability. After I learned about them and the behaviors and the stages and all of the stuff that goes into what a narcissist does, I had to then go, why me, right? And that was, yes, I'm an empath. Yes, I'm a people pleaser. I will do anything for anyone. I don't care. I will move your house next weekend if you need me to. And so a giving, caring person. But there's other things like the boundaries. I realized I was raised by a narcissistic mother in the end of this whole journey. And that's why I didn't learn boundaries. So when a narcissist is looking for someone, the empath part is a big part because they can get away with more, but someone that has loose boundaries. So they've tested you all along to see if you'd be a good person that would do their beck and call. So no boundaries is a thing. Being a people pleaser is another thing. Your own childhood, they look for what you're looking for. Because I had kind of a crappy family, if you would, I wanted someone with a really good family. They seemed so upstanding. They went on vacations together. And so I became attracted to that. So they dangled the carrot of, oh, we've got a good family. Come to our house. We'll be your family. And so they're looking for whatever you're looking for. Your vulnerabilities have to be explored. And I have a course that is how to change the story and how to learn what your vulnerabilities are so that you don't give that information to the next person in your life.
And we'll make sure to drop a link to that course in our notes as well, so that people can find that if they want that. But I think that's so true, and I have seen that too. And the other thing is that I've noticed, because one of the covert narcissists in my life is a family member. And I went to dinner with one of my dearest friends who's a licensed clinical psychologist and a PhD and brilliant, And I was saying that my husband was feeling guilty about, putting up boundaries. And my friend said that guilt was actually instilled by this person, that his sense of what's right and what's wrong is actually from that person. And so, he feels bad about putting up boundaries because that's what this person wanted him to feel. And so that was a huge aha moment for us. And through his own work and whatever, he's decided to have more boundaries with this person. And it's been better for both of us in the long run. But it's, you feel guilty, but remember that a lot of what you're feeling is what they've conditioned you to feel.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And when I have a book on narcissistic in-laws in up on Amazon, and I think the Audible just got approved, so hopefully that'll get out there.
That's on my website as well. I have it featured as my narcissist resources.
Good, yay! But it's if you have a narcissistic parent, so, and I'll use the example of my husband having a narcissistic parent, he's controlled by that person, and either they have the strength to stand up to their parents so that they can protect the spouse, or they are so controlled, say by money in my case, that they've got to listen to the holy grail of the parent. So you've got these different levels of where your spouse, if you've got a narcissistic in-law, could be, where they're sort of looking at it and going, well, my husband can't even battle with his mom. He's not strong enough because he's been emotionally manipulated his whole life. That's how it was for us. They manipulated him into this divorce and ran the show. And so for me, that was such an important part out there, because people think, oh God, what am I going to do about this narcissistic in-law? And I'm using my case as an example, but it comes down to your spouse being able to stand up to them, right? If your spouse can't stand up to them, then you're in big trouble. And so when we decide to marry, we have to look at the whole family with a different lens these days.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of times you don't even realize the person is a narcissist, especially if they're a covert narcissist, because they're so good at hiding. Like, the rest of the world thinks this person is wonderful. And you know, they purposely put themselves in positions where everyone thinks they're wonderful. I mean, they're oftentimes clergy or doctors, or, you know, in places,
Those doctors,
yeah, politicians, where they only show their bad side to their target. No one else sees it. And even with their target, you know, they're constantly gaslighting. Well, I thought we had that conversation. You agreed to that. And it's something completely different than what you agreed to. Or, you know, I agree. I told you that I would, you know, take care of the bills. And, you know, somebody's saying, I thought you were going to put the money in the bank account. I told you I would take care of it. And 3 days later, you're like, the money's still not in the bank account. Well, I told you I would take care of it. I meant I would take care of the bills. Well, you know, and they're constantly changing it. Well, then they haven't even paid the bills yet. I mean, and so I'm kind of getting a little bit into tricks people play in divorce. And I know you're writing a book on that, and I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about that also. So I don't want to steal your thunder on that. So talk about that a little bit.
Sure. So I am writing a book. We're hoping it'll be out by June. It is called You Can't Make This Shit Up. Then there's a whole subtitle about narcissists and how to be a survivor through it. But I've actually sourced not only hundreds of tricks that people from my website submitted, from my Facebook group, and from my support groups that I run have submitted and gone, this is what they've done, and taken that same trick and going, well, here's how you could have helped yourself on that. They turned off all the electricity in your house because it was in their name. As soon as they move out, put it in your name, protect yourself, you know, things. There are things that we can do to protect some of these things. But the idea is that they have been planning this in their mind for a very long time. So even before a mention of divorce has happened, they're usually hiding money. They're usually, controlling the accounts, and they started the smear campaigns. They are trying to isolate you by slowly dripping conversations to your friends. And, you know, there's a few that are really common, like she's an alcoholic, she's a bipolar person, you know, him, her, whatever it is, but they've been slipping that to your friends for a long time with concern, not in oh gosh, Tracy had so many drinks at the party last week. She's doing that so much more often. I'm really worried about her. That's just a planting of a seed before anything happens. Now, when they decide to have the divorce, all of a sudden you're a full-blown alcoholic. And look, I've got proof. Didn't I not tell you about that 3 months ago? So a lot of it has been seeded before the whole event happens. But, I've had people with fake filing where they've gotten legal papers from their husband, and oh my God, he just filed for divorce on me. And it was a fake document. And the game and the trick with that was to simply convince her that they could use the same lawyer. you don't need your own lawyer. But look, I've already filed. So, why file? I did it. We're good.
Yeah, that's a huge one. And I can tell you, as a lawyer, the lawyers can't represent both of you. They can only represent one of you.
Oh, see, and that's part of the game. At least they try it, right? They throw it out there to take you off from getting a lawyer. Pull back hold back the money so that you aren't able to hire the lawyer. So many people get stuck in that rut, and I know a lot of people end up having to take it out of, say, a 401k to be able to start the divorce process. And when you've got no assets and you're stuck, that's how they control you. They think, oh, I've got her money, she can't do it. And you end up with the raw end of the deal. But there's so many tricks they can do, both before, during court, and continuing for many, many years after, right?
Yeah, I can't wait to read it. I mean, I know it's going to be fantastic. And once it's out, I will definitely feature it on my website along with your other book, which I already have there. And I'll go back and actually add it to the notes for this particular episode, because this will live on forever. I think it's going to be fantastic. Tell us about the word surthriver. You mentioned that just briefly, and I love it.
I have my little mugs. Everyone's always going from surviving to thriving. And I'm like, I just made up this word. And I'm like, I don't know. I love it. I've been buying lots of URLs and trademarking it. But it is what we are. We're surthrivers. And we can all be surthrivers if we do the work. We learn to control our own emotions, learn to move on after a divorce, and learn to have a happy life, because this is just a chapter in our life. And although it is usually a horrific, like made for Lifetime TV movie kind of a chapter, we can't hold on to that. We do have to move on to the rest of our life. And so being a surthriver means you survived all that. And now the best revenge is moving on. The best revenge is making a video. And, for me, that was an awesome thing. It was meant to help people. But in many ways, I know that that I feel vindicated. The truth is out there, and I'm not going to hold it back, and I'm going to thrive without any worries of them in my past.
Yeah, absolutely. And you are thriving, that is for sure. And I really think that, and I tell people this, and Dr. Romani and I actually just did a whole bunch of series together, and she and I kind of have a slight differential on, I'm like all about get the hell out of there as fast as you can. She, and being the psychologist, she understands that some people aren't ready, or some people aren't there yet, or they financially can't, or they have children to consider. And of course, I get that. But I still say, as soon as you can, get the hell out of there. Because once you shut down those boundaries, you completely cut them off. And they're going to keep trying to hoover. They're going to keep trying to come back, and they're going to keep trying to do whatever they can to manipulate you for a period of time. But once they're no longer getting any supply from you at all, and there's just no value anymore to be had, you're not upset by what they're doing, you're not, because they get supply when you're upset. Mm-hmm. Then they'll just move on to their next target, their next victim, because they've got to just keep getting supply from somewhere. And if it's not going to be you, then it's going to end up being somebody else, unfortunately. So, but at least it won't be you anymore.
Well, the hardest part, I think, in this, and I was very, very blessed to not have a child with my narcissistic husband, but co-parenting with a narcissist, I was able to move on because there was no more connection. Those that have to continuously deal with them and deal with the drama until the kids are able to make their own choices.
Hard.
It's an ongoing battle, and they have to still move on with their life too. Despite the fights, despite that weekly drama, going on with your life is it's got to be your choice. You have to say, I don't want that part to just be my life. I don't want the battle. I don't want to be this soldier just battling all day long. Make peace with what you can do, use the legal system for what you need to do, and really hold on to your kids and teach them what's right and wrong, because the struggle begins with the daddy lets them stay up till midnight. You've got boundaries and rules. How come we can't be like that at the other house? Those things are always going to be there.
Oh yeah, that happened in my divorce, and actually my ex-husband isn't even a narcissist, but he was still trying to get the kids on his side. So I was trying to get them to get good grades, and and he'd say, "Oh, she's just such a bitch. She's so uptight," and which is exactly what a 15-year-old boy wants to hear. I mean, so it doesn't help.
No, it does not. No. So
But it is what it is. So I want to make sure that we hear about you. Where can we find you? Your YouTube channel, narcissist support group, abuse support group. Tell us everything.
So if you go to my website, narcissistabusesupport.com, you will find links to my YouTube channel, my podcast. I'm on Spotify. I'm everywhere. You can find resources. I built my website to bring resources to people. So it's not just a little website about Tracy. Here is every meetup support group that my team can find every month. And we check it to make sure they're either still in business or not. Find a support group near you. That was what saved my life. I started my own support group because I needed a group. Now there's 1,500 members. And so get some support. That's on my website. Find a therapist if you're a therapist and coach that really understands this. That's on my website. So everything that you could need to recover is going to be featured on that website. And you can find everything out about me. Sign up for my coaching, get some advice. I help people through their divorce. I help people after their divorce, and I help people that are dealing with a narcissistic family member as well. I've had the gamut and I've studied it all. And like I'm interviewing with you now, I interview so many experts. And before I interview them, I read books. I've read about 250 books, not only on them, but on how to heal, how to deal with the PTSD. How do we move on from the anger, the fear? Understanding your fear is going to make you become stronger. Like if fear is controlling you, the negative voices in your head, your inner child, there's so much there. So get to my website and you can find everything else about me.
You are a rock star, and I am so thrilled that I got to talk with you here today. And definitely go check out her resources. Get the help that you need. It's there. So thank you so much, Tracy.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining me today on this part 2 of this 2-part episode with Tracy Malone. If you haven't already, make sure you hit subscribe, hit that notification bell. If you like this video, give it a like, give it a share, drop me a comment. And if you haven't grabbed my Crush My Negotiation Prep Worksheet, you're going to want to make sure you grab that. Don't go into a negotiation without it. I will drop a link to that below as well as part 1 of this episode. So you can go back and check that out if you haven't done that already. I'm Rebecca Zung, top 1% divorce attorney. And I'm so glad that you're here and so glad that you're part of my community and part of this channel. And I will see you in the next video. Remember, today is a great day to start negotiating your best life.